I'm John Ennis, and founder and creative director of Gayfield Creative Spaces. I have owned the building for some time here at Gayfield. It was an old tyre depot, and I saw the potential of it to become something more creative. The first venture was me as a silent partner in a gallery which we set up, which is currently called White Space, one of the 4 spaces here at Gayfield. I think Edinburgh is a very interesting city, a very beautiful city, and yet sometimes we lack something that touches a more creative working base for people, particularly for exhibiting. So we've got a lot of Georgian drawing rooms and a lot of hotel lobbies, but maybe not spaces that allow the freedom of expression that semi-industrial building does have. Examples that do exist in Edinburgh would include the fruit market, a wonderful transformation of an old market building. And Gayfield Creative Spaces from an old tyre depot seemed to be initially a possible and now a real transformation. What we're trying to do with Gayfield is several-fold. Creatively, we're looking to enable emerging talent and also to celebrate established talent that is based in Scotland. And there are things underlying that guide what we try and do. We've got to try to encourage a respect for locality. The initial launch for our programme was last summer, and the aim was to really show high quality interventions associated with Gayfield Creative Spaces. I was careful and keen to work with emerging and established folk of high quality in the areas that interested me most. I have various areas of personal interest, and I'm very intrigued by the processes that underlie both artistic and design interventions. So that brings me a love of textiles and love of furniture, as well as fine art sculpture. More recently, glass and photography. But this isn't a vanity project, it's one that's trying to put design at the forefront of people's thinking. I'm particularly interested where design meets health and well-being, and where design meets wealth creation for local communities. Art and design have such a fundamental impact on how we are on the earth. I think, intuitively, if you're walking to work through a derelict environment, or you're walking to work through a beautiful environment, your spirits can be lifted and you can face the day with a greater sense of purpose. One of the other great associations that we have at Gayfield, or that we're proud of being associated with, is called the Art Room. The Art Room is a charity setting up in mainstream schools rooms where kids are having a tough time with mainstream school can go and through art therapy, through creating and making, find a different way of communicating. And it's a very successful intervention. Another wonderful example that I'm really pleased to be part of what Flawless are producing is the association with the Teapot Trust. And it's a privilege to be associated with these different interventions. And they do show very clearly that art and design and creativity and making can alleviate a lot of problems for kids. Goals are sometimes a bit of a burden to set, I think, but we do have some hopes for Gayfield. There are 3 big lessons that I learned last year, and they are lead time. There's never enough. So we have to plan carefully. So one of the goals might be to learn to plan well for events that are important. Funding, there's never enough funding. So one is to get to grips with people who have an interest in art and design as it relates to health and well-being, wealth creation, and seeing if there are co-sponsorships to be had and co-funding opportunities. So one of the goals is that future creative collaborations will be with the financial assistance of other people. And then finally, the brief. It's quite difficult to set a brief, and I've come from a medical world where one obviously by necessity micromanages things. So it's been a real learning curve, but very exciting to offer a more shared approach. So if those three things can serve as goals, then those are good things. We have successful briefs, funding in place, and a lead time that makes sense for quality production. And I'm going to add one other thing. It's been my mantra since that kind of reflective period in November. As a Spanish phrase, poco a poco. Little by little, not everything yesterday. Things will happen. And I'm growing in confidence in working with and meeting fantastically creative people in Edinburgh who share similar goals to me.